"Follow your passion" might be the most repeated career advice on the planet. It's printed on coffee mugs, stitched onto pillows, and shouted from every graduation stage. It sounds beautiful, and it feels obviously true. It has also quietly wrecked the plans of millions of people who took it seriously. Because if you follow it literally, it asks you to do something almost nobody can actually do. The promise is simple and very appealing. Look inside, find the one thing you truly love, then build a career around it. Do that, and work stops feeling like work. The money shows up, the meaning shows up, and Monday mornings stop hurting. It's a lovely story, and people repeat it because they want it to be true. It's also surprisingly new. For most of history, work was about survival and duty, not personal fulfillment. Your job was to feed the family, and that was the whole point. The idea that a career should match your inner spark only really took off in the last few decades. It spread through self-help books and movies until it felt like an ancient law instead of a modern slogan. It also sells a lot of books, courses, and motivational seminars. A vague promise that your true calling is out there somewhere is very good for business. And underneath the slogan sits one giant hidden assumption. It assumes you already have a single clear passion inside you, fully formed, just waiting to be discovered. For most people, that fully formed passion simply isn't there. When researchers ask young people what they're passionate about, the answers are remarkably similar. They say sports, music, gaming, dancing, hanging out with friends. Almost nobody says accounting, logistics, or dentistry. One look across many studies of student passions found the same pattern over and over. The big passions were hobbies, and only a tiny fraction had anything to do with school or a job. So if the plan is to find your one true passion and get paid for it, the numbers are rough. The world is not going to pay most people to play football or stay up gaming. You end up holding a list of things you love that nobody will fund, and then comes the worst part, the quiet shame. You start to feel like everyone else was handed a passion and you got skipped. You scroll past people who seem to have it all figured out, doing their dream job in perfect lighting. What you don't see is how messy and accidental their path actually was. You compare your confused middle to their polished highlight reel, and you always lose. A lot of the damage hides inside one small word. Find your passion treats passion like a set of car keys you lost. It exists, it's complete, and your only job is to locate it. In 2018, a group of psychologists at Stanford and Yale decided to test that belief. They split people into two ways of thinking about interests. The first they called a fixed theory. It says your passions are built in from the start, and you simply uncover them. The second they called a growth theory. It says your passions are things you build and develop over time. Then they gave people a new subject and let it get difficult. The people who believed passions are found lost interest the moment it stopped being fun. The people who believed passions are grown, dug in, and got more interested, not less. The find it belief had a nasty hidden side effect. It made people expect their true passion to feel easy and exciting from the very first day. So the instant something got hard, they took it as proof they picked the wrong thing. They'd drop it and go searching for the next spark. If you believe passion is supposed to feel like lightning, every normal dip looks like a mistake. And every interesting field has a lot of normal, boring dips. Here's the bit the inspirational posters leave out. Everything is boring or frustrating when you're new and bad at it. The first weeks of any skill are slow, clumsy, and a little embarrassing. A guitar sounds awful before it sounds good. Code crashes 100 times before it finally runs. Between the exciting start and the rewarding mastery, there's a long, dull valley. Almost everything worth doing has one. Boredom in that valley is not a sign you're on the wrong path. It's just the toll you pay on the way to getting good. The find your passion crowd hits that valley and assumes they took a wrong turn, so they climb back out and start a brand new path, right before the next valley. If you only stay with things that feel amazing immediately, you'll quit all of them by week 3. You turn into a tourist, wandering from hobby to hobby, never staying long enough to get good at one. Think of the guy who started 10 side projects and quit every one by month 2. He isn't lazy, he's just waiting for a feeling that only ever shows up later. And being bad at 20 things feels far worse than being good at one. So if hunting for a ready-made passion is a trap, what makes people genuinely love their work? A computer scientist named Newport spent a lot of time on exactly that question. He studied people who clearly love what they do for a living, and he found that passion for work is real, but it usually arrives in a specific order. The people who loved their jobs tended to share 3 things. They were good at what they did, they had some control over how they spent their day, and they could see that their work actually mattered to someone. Notice what's not on that list. There's no magical, built-in love of the subject that they had before they started. The enjoyment showed up after the skill did, not before. Psychologists who study motivation keep landing on the same basic human needs. People feel good when they're steadily getting better at something. They feel good when they have some say over their own day, and they feel good when the work connects connects them to other people. Notice that none of those needs care which industry you happen to be in. You can get all three as a plumber, a nurse, a coder, or a carpenter, which means a so-called boring field can become deeply satisfying once you're good and a little free. Newport has a name for the belief that you must match a job to a pre-existing passion. He calls it the passion hypothesis, and he argues it's quietly dangerous. It's dangerous because it makes you anxious about whether each job is the one. It makes you picky in the worst way, and quick to quit the second work feels like work. It sets you up to feel like a failure for doing completely normal things. So Newport suggests flipping the whole thing on its head. Stop asking what the world can offer you. Start asking what you can offer the world. He calls this the craftsman mindset. You treat your work like a craft and become slightly obsessed with getting good at it. Rare and valuable skills are the real currency of a good career. He calls that currency career capital. The more rare and valuable your skills, the more you can trade them for the things that make work feel great. Freedom over your own time. Interesting problems instead of mind-numbing busy work. Respect, and the feeling that what you do leaves a mark. Nobody hands those things to a beginner with big dreams and no skills. You have to earn them. This reverses the order almost everyone assumes. Most people think passion comes first and skill follows behind it. In real life, it's usually the other way around. You get a little good at something, and that makes it more fun. Because it's more fun, you do more of it, and you get better still. People start coming to you as the person who's good at this thing. You earn more freedom, and bigger, more interesting problems land on your desk. The work slowly starts to feel like yours, and one ordinary afternoon you look up and notice you genuinely love it. The passion you were told to find at the very beginning was quietly waiting at the end. You just had to walk through being bad to reach it. Picture two friends who graduate the same year. The first one chases his passion and refuses any job that doesn't feel magical. He bounces between 5 exciting starts and quits each one the moment it gets hard. 5 years later, he's talented at nothing in particular and quietly panicking. The second one picks a useful, slightly boring skill and just gets good at it. She trades that skill for better pay, more freedom, and projects she actually wants. 5 years later, she has the kind of work the first guy was only dreaming about. She didn't start with more passion, she just built it instead of waiting for it. Getting good isn't only about putting in years, though. It's about practicing the parts you're bad at on purpose, instead of repeating what's already comfortable. That kind of practice feels awkward because you're always working right at the edge of your ability. Most people avoid that edge, which is exactly why most people stall out. Lean into the awkward part, and you quietly pull ahead of everyone still waiting to feel inspired. There's a famous example of all this, and it's a little awkward. The man who made Find What You Love go worldwide was Steve Jobs. In a 2005 graduation speech, he told students not to settle until they found work they loved. It's a genuinely great speech, and millions of people have watched it. But here's the catch. Young Steve Jobs was not a man burning with passion for computers. He dropped out of college and sat in on a calligraphy class just for fun. He traveled around India and got deeply into Zen. He helped start Apple less out of love for circuit boards and more because his friend had built a clever machine they could sell. The deep passion for the work grew as the company grew. He didn't find a ready-made passion and follow it. He built one by getting extraordinarily good at something and watching it change the world. The Follow Your Passion sermon causes real damage in a few specific ways. It paints your dream job as a fixed destination, so anything less feels like settling. It makes steady, useful, well-paid work feel like a betrayal of your soul. It pushes people to quit good paths the moment the early excitement fades. And it dumps an impossible weight onto one job. It asks that job to be your income, your identity, your meaning, and your happiness all at once. No single job was ever built to carry all of that. So when it can't, people feel cheated. They assume they chose wrong, when really the advice was rigged from the start. The game was never winnable the way it was explained to them. Now, this does not mean you should grab the most miserable job you can find and grind away for a paycheck. What you like still matters a lot. If you actively hate something, you'll never push through the boring part to get good at it. So the goal isn't to ignore your interests. The goal is to stop waiting for a perfect, ready-made passion before you're allowed to begin. You don't need fireworks on the first day. You need a topic you're a bit curious about, something the world will actually pay for, and something you can realistically get good at with effort. So here's the more boring, more honest plan. Start where two circles overlap. One circle is the stuff you're mildly drawn to. The other is the stuff people will actually pay for. Live in that overlap, not in the fantasy floating outside it. Then get good on purpose, with real effort and honest feedback. Chase rare and valuable skills, the kind that are hard to find and hard to fake. Give it longer than feels comfortable, because the good part lives on the far side of being a beginner. Most people badly underestimate how long longer than feels comfortable actually is. As your skill grows, spend that career capital on more control and better projects. Watch where the real opportunities are, not just where your heart happens to point. Skills that are rare and in demand quietly open doors that raw enthusiasm never will. Keep an eye on what truly energizes you, and steer toward it a little at a time. Drop the parts that drain you once you finally have the leverage to do it, and let the passion catch up to you. Instead of demanding it lead the way. That's how the people you admire actually did it. So try swapping one word. Don't find your passion. grow it. Plant a seed by getting good at something useful. Water it with steady effort and a bit of patience. And over time, it grows into work you genuinely love. Passion isn't the match that starts the fire. It's the heat that comes off once the fire is already burning. The people who look like they found their dream usually built it slowly while no one was watching. So if you don't have a burning passion right now, you are not behind. Nothing is wrong with you, and you didn't miss the day they handed them out. Pick something useful, get good at it, and let the love grow from there. The passion was never meant to come first. If that took a bit of weight off your shoulders, subscribe to stick with it for more straight, no-nonsense stuff like this. We'll keep it simple, and we'll keep it honest. Now, go get good at something.